Well, with an MSer, when fatigue hits, it can get you down for days, and it sucks. And when I have cannabis and CBD, I can fight through that.
It's time to consider cannabis. I'm your host, Curtis. I first met somebody with MS when I was very young. He was a family member that wasn't really related to me by blood. But growing up, I would see him almost every Thanksgiving and Christmas when we visited my grandparents. He never really said a lot. He just sat in his wheelchair with a grumpy look on his face. People in the family would tell me that he's kind of a jerk, and just wallows in self-pity. But that's really not fair, is it? Maybe he was a jerk, but I never got to meet him before he was in his wheelchair. The only Bill I ever knew was the silent Bill who had MS. So why do we do that? Why do we judge people by how they look on the outside and not consider what's going on the inside? The Bible tells us that God looks at a person's heart, and Jesus teaches us that it's what we store in our hearts that makes us who we are. And we teach it to our kids too, don't we? We tell our children that true beauty is on the inside. I haven't seen my Uncle Bill in years, and I'm honestly not even sure if he's alive. But I have met other people with MS since then. A young lady from church, and probably most impactfully, my mother-in-law, Mary Ann. When I first met Mary Ann, MS had already been progressing in her body, but she could still get around with the help of a walker. But today, she is completely bedridden. And when I think about Bill, and I think about Mary Ann, and when I think about what the future might look like for that young lady at church, I grieve. I grieve because of all the opportunities and life experiences they will miss out on because of MS. What if there was a plant that could help them fight back and reclaim some of those life experiences? In just a few seconds, we're going to sit down with Lorrie Callahan. Lorrie Callahan is an activist, an MS patient advocate, and uses cannabis to treat her own MS symptoms. So let's take a moment and rid ourselves of the preconceived ideas and stigmas that we hold, and let us consider cannabis together. I want to talk to you about your relationship with cannabis.
I started smoking when I was a teenager.
Okay.
It's always been in my life. I don't know. In my 20s, like I told you before, it was more about alcohol. And even in my teens, it was like that too. More alcohol was available easier than cannabis was. So, I mean, it's always been there, but it wasn't until I got diagnosed with MS that I started using it more.
Oh, all right.
Yes, and that was when I was 32 years old. That's when it all started for me. I don't know how old you were when you got into that journey, but 32 was me. But the activism stuff didn't come until like last year. But I've done so much research.
So for the people who are listening who don't know you, can you tell them what that activism is?
Okay, I've adjusted into the fact of being a multiple sclerosis patient advocate. It wasn't until about a year ago that I started doing live videos and stuff on Facebook because I wanted to get my research of what I've known for the past 10 years on just multiple sclerosis out because there wasn't enough awareness out there. I mean, how many people do you know that have MS? Right now off the top of your head?
3.
Mm-hmm. And how long have you known that they've had MS?
I've known, well, one for pretty much my whole life. One for the 6 years I've known them, and then, yeah, my wife's mother as well, as long as I've known her, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, it's like, okay, every person that I talk to, that I have talked to, it's generally that answer. It's generally anywhere between 1 and 3 people I know that have MS. But there's so many more out there. There's so many more. And their stories need to be told. And especially here in Ohio, there's not enough awareness for MS. I mean, where do you see MS awareness here in Ohio?
On Facebook from my friends who...
Right. You know? So, okay, we're going to start this live video.
All right.
So I think that's what drew me into the whole cannabis part of it, because when I started doing more and more research in Ohio, there wasn't enough awareness out there. And like I just said, one out of, everybody that I asked, it's 1 to 3 people. But there's so many more. There's thousands of us in the state of Ohio. And there's thousands of us that use cannabis in order to help our multiple sclerosis.
I just got a notification that you're going live on Facebook right now.
Well, why not? People have to see this and hear it, so we're going to have some fun.
All right. What was your experience implementing cannabis as treatment for MS? What did that look like and feel like?
It was probably about a 7-year journey, because I really didn't start talking to my doctors about cannabis until about 3 years ago. And then 2.5 years ago, I started talking to them about CBD. I mean, I've done research on MS alone in the past 10 years alone, but the cannabis part and the CBD part, it's just been a few years. So, and then coming out like I am now, like we have a lot of people watching, a lot of people that are looking to me to be that voice, I guess, because we have all these people in the state of Ohio that even though I have MS, they have other ailments. And apparently, I have the loud mouth and the energy, I guess, to get out there and go, hey, cannabis isn't a bad thing. CBD isn't a bad thing. We're all still functional. We all still have jobs. We all still do tasks. So don't look at us, as we were saying earlier in our first conversation, don't judge us. Do you feel that way sometimes about cannabis, that people are judged?
It's so funny you bring that up, because I just literally had a conversation with a man I respect from my church life. I met him at the first church I went to when we moved here to Ohio, and we've been going to the same church ever since, up until the point of this last church I was working for closing.
Okay.
And I've been on this medical journey for a while, and anyway, I went to coffee with him and talked to him about it, and he basically asked me if I wanted to go to a program with him.
Oh, so you were automatically judged.
A little bit, maybe.
Right. Okay. It's unfortunate that that is like that in the state of Ohio and everywhere. It's because of the stigma. They want to call us potheads. They want to call us dopeheads, stuff like that. No, we're not. A lot of us, a majority of us that I'm fighting for and that I'm advocating for, we're patients. Patients that have these hardcore illnesses that if you just tell your story to, per se, that person that you think is being judgmental, they'll probably understand. It's all about starting a conversation. That's what I've told everybody on Facebook time and time again. And I learned that through Jennifer Murray, because I purchased a shirt from her that says start the conversation. So it's real easy. Like when we were at the State House, I started the conversation with the cop up there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Why not? Law enforcement, you can ask their opinion, right? There's no law against asking somebody's opinion on something.
They are
correct?
people too.
Right. So it's basically like what we're doing now. We're starting a conversation and we're getting it out there more and more to people. So I'm sorry you had to go through that judgmental.
Well, I mean, I sat with him, drank coffee, and
Right.
we did talk about it. I mean, I did, even tell him that I had talked to my therapist about my concerns approaching cannabis as medicine, because I abused it in my youth. Like, it was easy to get in California and easy to really enjoy that feeling. And I know myself I'm a type of person that would take things to the next step,
Level.
the excess. Yeah, like, well, what's the next level look like exactly? How's the view from up there? Let's check it out.
Right.
So I recognize that in myself, and I don't want my kids to be raised by pothead Curtis,
Right.
because he was not a great guy. But talking to my therapist about it, she's like, exactly, you're not that guy anymore, though. Like,
Right. Because why? Because it's in the past.
Right.
I struggled with that when I came down with MS. When you have a diagnosis, you go through a year or two of being essentially depressed and really angry. And so you have to keep telling yourself, your diagnosis is in the past. Let it go, move forward and fight. So it's like you too. Don't look at the past as keeping a hold on you. Just keep looking at the future and what do you want to accomplish, you
Right.
know? And you're a patient as well in the state of Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to look for that future and you have to look for that path that's going to take you there. And you're on the right one. So
Yeah. Oh,
congratulations,
thank
man.
you. Thank you.
So what did you think of the event that you attended in Columbus?
I thought it was great. I mean, it really did nothing more for me. No, I'm saying that all wrong. Okay, no, I'm live on Facebook. I'm gonna get tongue twisted. I found it very inspiring, and it fueled the fire for wanting to share the stories of patients.
Right.
Because I already had this kind of burning in my heart to do it, and then when I went there and I heard all these just amazing stories, I'm like, oh, these people need louder voices. Someone give them the microphone.
Right.
Take it away from racist pawpaw and give it to the kids.
And they're badass, like that Angelica chick.
Oh my goodness.
Man, she's a warrior from, oh my goodness, her story. It's like Robert, my friend Robert, he's got an amazing story. You know, everybody out there that is watching right now, you know, I've always encouraged them to let their voices be heard and to get their stories out. And I get message after message every day. Oh, you're so inspiring. Thank you for your positive words. Well, yeah. You know, you need more positive in your life regarding cannabis than negative.
Yeah.
You know, and I think as a patient who has dug into a lot of research about it over the years and attended conferences and stuff, this is a good way for me to give back to the cannabis community and to help others get their stories out. You know, it's not just about me. It's about everybody else too.
In that information that you've shared, what's the one piece you're like, oh, I really, really am glad I got to tell everybody this piece of information?
That's a huge question. That's a loaded question there, my man.
Well, I mean,
okay. Well, you know, I think when you go to a conference like what I attended in Oregon, we'll go back to Oregon per se.
Sure.
When you're a grower, okay, growing is therapy for people.
Yes.
I mean,
I have been recommended. Gardening was in the list of things that I might want to try to help.
Right. You know, because like when I lived with my ex-boyfriend, we did a garden. My dad has gardened his entire life, grown tomatoes and stuff, you know. How wonderful would that be to have that in the state of Ohio to where PTSD patients could grow and it would help them? You know, isn't that what this is all about?
Be therapeutic in the process of growing it, therapeutic in the process of preparing it, ingesting it.
You could talk to it, you know, you can nurture it like you would any other plant. So we could take some questions from the viewers on here if you'd want to do something like that too, during this podcast.
If they have questions.
Well, let's see. Let's scroll back through. There was one. So how do you propose to get cannabis really legalized with the current MMJ legalization initiatives? What's your answer to that?
I think probably the best possibility would be for people to continue the decriminalization work that they've been doing throughout the cities in the state. Because if you own the cities, then you've got the state. And
well, if you think about it, it gives the patient a sense of not having as much fear, you know, because there's still people getting arrested, you know, over this. And it's insane how many people, you know, get in trouble for just small amounts that gets them through the day. I think it's a federal thing. It needs to go, you know, or it needs to be changed on the controlled substance list, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you really think cannabis is as bad as heroin?
Absolutely not.
You know, I mean, why on earth? It's all about money. It's all about power. It's all about greed. It's about that kind of stuff, control. So it's like they're keeping that on a schedule to where they're saying it's as bad as heroin because they know it's money. Another comment on here, somebody has COPD. Now that COPD is terrible. I mean, I've known quite a few people in my life that have had COPD. CBD helps them. When you're so sick and you're tired of the doctor throwing pill after pill after pill out you, don't you want to like have something natural?
Yeah.
I mean, after a while, you know, because when I got diagnosed and I was on all those pills, it changed me as a person into somebody I didn't like. It was somebody that was lacking of energy, lacking of motivation, almost to a sense, because, pills depress you almost. They suppress your immune system.
Hmm.
And so with me having MS, because it's autoimmune and it's neurological and stuff, my immune system is weaker than yours. So it turned me into a germ freak a little bit when I got diagnosed with MS, because you have to learn how to take care of yourself in a healthier way. I mean, it's a whole lifestyle change, Curtis. It really is for MSers. And like with back pain and stuff, it's a whole lifestyle change when you come down with back pain and stuff. How well do you do on stairs?
I do okay. I actually do use stairs as a bit of exercise, walking up and down them. So
Oh,
that's
okay.
probably why I handle them pretty well.
Okay. Well, that's goodness. See, I can't handle stairs.
Yeah.
I'm the complete opposite. Like when we were at the state house, man, when an MSer is looking at a staircase, to me, it's like a mile long. It's like the Great Wall of China. To me, that's what it is. And it's painful. It's very painful. But each MSer is also different too in some of their symptoms. I know somebody that has optic neuritis, like my best man friend. He's completely different than how I am on my MS, because he's diagnosed with MOG, which is a rare form of MS that they're just now getting the studies out about. So he has vision problems, balance problems. He has a lot of numbness, a lot of numbness. I get that too. I went completely numb in my left arm like a few years ago. And do you have like numbness or anything from your ailments?
Yes, I have experienced numbness in the feet and the hands.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it like pins and needles feeling?
Yep.
Don't you hate that feeling?
Yeah.
It's like the worst. It is. What's your next question?
Well, I'd like to probe a little bit, if I could, on your experience with MS. You wake up in the morning and you just know it's going to be a bad day.
Not usually.
No, not usually.
When it's I never know what I'm going to feel like when I wake up each day.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. Friday, I had plans with a girlfriend of mine. And I woke up that day, was fine, feeling good, moving around, had my coffee, everything, ate a little bit of an edible, was feeling okay. And then all of a sudden, bam, just like that, I got this shooting pain all down my right side. And it made me crash. And so I had to cancel my plans. I had to lay in bed. I had to take it easy. It's sporadic, I guess. It's that way in a lot of MSers. We can go months and feel great, and then it just gets you down, whether it be muscle spasms or extreme weakness. There's been times where I can't lift my legs. It's like my brain can't tell my leg, get up and go. It's that feeling of heaviness and rigid muscles, I guess, in a sense, too, at night. It varies with a lot of MSers. It does. Today I'm feeling good, though. I'm feeling good.
That's good.
It's because I push myself. Sometimes I push myself too much. And so that's another reason, like when I had to cancel my plans on Friday, it makes me feel like a piece of shit friend sometimes. It does. But this amazing group of friends that I do have around me, they understand. They do. They understand. So that's very helpful. You have to learn to be more compassionate with somebody that has MS or PTSD or chronic pain or anything. You have to learn how to be a lot more compassionate. You can't get pissed off and go, oh, man, that Lorrie, I tell you, she cancels all the time. She can't do this. She can't remember shit. You can't be like that with an MSer. You have to be really, really positive. So, but if I'm having a bad day, I'll tell you. Oh, I have no problem telling you.
Well, okay, so you kind of feel a bad day come on, or is it really sudden? Like, I mean, does it ramp up at all? I mean, I know you're saying you don't wake up and know, but
my worst pain levels are at night when I lay down. I have extreme insomnia. I am trying to get off a last pill that I'm on, Ambien. I hate that pill. I don't want to take it anymore. So I'm trying to find something that will allow me to sleep a little bit better. We got a new bed, so we changed that area, which I'm sleeping a lot better. So my next step is to find a strain, once Ohio gets their program up and going, a strain for insomnia so I can get off that last pill that I'm on. Now, I'd have to take a pain pill here and there, but man, it's becoming less and less and less and less, and it's beautiful. Beautiful. My pain scale is the worst at night. Rainy days suck. It can really, really aggravate an MSer. You'll notice while we're talking, my words get jumbled up. I can't think straight sometimes. I've always said this to people. It's like having a hangover every single day of your life. That's the best way to describe MS. You're drunk, but you're not. And I'm sure you've gotten drunk before, haven't you?
Maybe once or twice.
Once or twice?
Yeah.
So you know what that feeling of a hangover is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're really tired, you're fatigued.
Sometimes the worst ones come after one beer, and then the next day you're like, where did that come from?
Well, with an MSer, when fatigue hits, it can get you down for days, and it sucks. And when I have cannabis and CBD, I can fight through that a lot better. And the recovery time from fatigue is lessened. You know what I mean? It's lesser. It's not like days. It's like maybe a day.
Can you tell me what that fight is like? So you're having a really bad day, and then you decide, I'm going to medicate with some cannabis. What does that do? Like, are you still pretty laid out, but you're able to survive it better? Are you able to get up and move?
It relaxes my muscles. My muscles feel like they're like this all the time, and they're twisting, and they're burning, and they're on fire sometimes, but they're real tight. And when I use cannabis, man, I can relax. Like my shoulders drop. It's just a fabulous feeling. It's hard to describe in a sense. It just makes you feel like you're not as rigid. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. Because like we're sitting here right now, and I'm fine. It just sometimes it depends on the weather. It depends on, if what you ate for breakfast sometimes. It's just, man, it's a guessing game with MS. It really is.
So when it makes your muscles a little less rigid, do you find that easier to move around throughout the day? Okay. So it doesn't lay you out anymore. You're able to get up.
It gets me up and going, so I can do stuff like this and go see friends of mine. But on those hard days, I can't fight because MS is a lot stronger than me sometimes, and it just knocks you down. You have to lay down. You have to sit down. You have to rest. You have to know your limitations. So it's a hard battle. It is. I mean, but I'm powering through.
Absolutely.
Just like you are.
Yeah. And it's important to, I don't know, to me it's important to really own the fact that this is not a cure-all. This is not a panacea. Right. Like this is not going to make MS go away for you.
Right.
This is a
Well, you brought
up
a good word, cure. I see a lot of, because I've done so much research, because I've been on social media for so long, I see people that do view it as a cure because it has astonishingly gotten rid of a lot of their symptoms on things, which is great. I mean, that's fabulous. I'm not ever going to knock somebody that's going to say that it's a cure, because to them it is, because it's that hope inside that, hey, this is making me feel better than all the pills I was on. I've got appetite, I've got energy and stuff. So, I mean, if people want to call it a cure, there's so many different slang words and how you word stuff in the cannabis community. Well, there is. I see your grin. What are you thinking?
That seems like it would be.
Right. I mean, there's not a cure for MS, unfortunately. But the hope that I have and the way I can get through the day is by using Queen City and cannabis. That's the best thing I can do to get through the day. And that's what's made me feel the best in the 10 years that I've had MS. So, and for that, I'm grateful. I'm very, very grateful.
Can you tell our listeners who aren't familiar what you mean by Queen City?
Queen
That's a shop,
City.
right?
Okay. Queen City Hemp is, I took it upon myself to go with my friend Monica to Columbus. And we went to this cannabis meeting, and I knew Queen City was going to be there. I had researched them, what the event was about, who was going to be there prior to going. So I knew who was going to be up there. And for some reason, something kept drawing me to Roberto, one of the owners of Queen City. And so Monica and I sat through the meeting and stuff, and after the panel was done, I hightailed it. I mean, I literally hightailed it up there directly to Roberto and struck up a conversation with him. I'm like, hey, can you explain your products to me? Have you ever had anybody with MS try it? Stuff like that. And the answer was no, they never had anybody with MS try their products. They were a brand new company in the state of Ohio. So they were just coming out, getting acknowledged and stuff like that. And really nice guys. I mean, the best guys I've ever met in my entire life. I owe my life to them almost. Because they've created such a product that's allowed me to become a patient advocate, to get out there and to fight for this stuff and feel better. He gave me a sample and it worked. I took it. My pain was horrible that day. I can remember this day vividly, the day I took Queen City Hemp. It was horrible. My pain was through the roof that day. I would say like a 10 plus. Well, I messaged him. I'm like, well, how do I do this stuff? You got to tell me how to do it. And he's like, well, do, about a half a vial or a quarter of a vial under your tongue. And I did a half a vial. And it shot my pain level down to about a 4 that day.
Wow.
And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? And I stayed consistent with it. And the more consistent I stayed with it, the more changes I saw in myself. It improved my mood. It improved my muscle spasms. It improved my pain. It improved my overall quality of life, really. And I've been on that for 2.5 years. And they are a fantastic Cincinnati-born company. And I love them to death. I love them to death. They're just amazing.
So if you're out there listening and you're considering cannabis for treatment of some pain, Queen City Hemp.
City, you're close to, have you ever been to Jungle Gyms?
Mm-hmm.
They have their products there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they do. On their website, you can find their store locations and, see where their products are. Now, there's a lot of stuff going on in Ohio regarding CBD right now, as you know.
Ridiculous.
Okay, well, what have you heard?
I've heard all sorts of things.
Okay.
I've heard that it's illegal. Then I've heard that it's
right.
only illegal for pharmacies to sell it.
Right.
Or I think maybe doctors. Anyone who has a DEA license can't sell it, but other people can sell it.
Right.
And then I've heard that it's still illegal under federal. So, I mean, I don't know.
It is. It's illegally. You see how confusing it is when you get into all this stuff and you see the logistics of how cannabis is. You see how confusing all this stuff is and how the people that we vote into office, you get into politics and this stuff, man. I don't like politics very much. I don't. But when you have all this confusion surrounding something, why not, like on the advisory board committee, I asked somebody this the other day, why isn't there an actual patient on that advisory board to give these people a better path to take to not confuse patients? Why would they only say, oh, well, you can only get it in a licensed dispensary? Well, first of all, there's no dispensaries open at all.
Yeah.
Because they're past their deadline on their program. So they're confusing people and they're making people angry. So that's where I come in. Because I'm going to start attending all their meetings up there in Columbus because I want to voice my opinions to some people. You can't say that I can't go and buy this in a health food store that this stuff is already stocked in. I get passionate about this because this is my Queen City we're talking about. That stuff cannot be taken away from me due for the fact that my life is at stake almost, if you think about it, because MS is very debilitating. I know people that it's progressed in them so quickly, they're in a wheelchair. I don't want to be that way. And if one day, God forbid, I am in a wheelchair, it's going to be a badass wheelchair, though. I'm going to have it all decked out.
Neon lights.
So, yeah, there's
Spinners.
a lot of confusion surrounding CBD in the state of Ohio. So I'm hoping to get more connections made up there in Columbus to get a better point of view about CBD across to the pharmacy board, the medical board, all those boards up there, because they're messing with people's lives.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I mean, we've got so many people that were watching and that are going to watch this and hear your podcast that I don't want misinformation getting to that patient and stuff. So that's why I'm going to try my hardest to attend these meetings, to ask the right questions and see what progress we can get made regarding CBD. So, but I won't show my true passion about that. But yeah, it does get me worked up because it's a very beneficial thing. Now, have you ever had CBD?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I got myself off of Prozac and lithium using CBD.
Hell yeah. Oh my gosh. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Wow, I didn't know that about you.
Yep.
That makes me smile. Oh my gosh.
Which is one of the reasons I was like, well, if it's doing this for my depression and anxiety, what could it do for my pain?
Right.
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
Curtis, I didn't know that about you. You're going to make me cry because of that almost. That's awesome. It is. I mean, it's helped so many people on here too. Why would they want to, if we're voting these people in office, why aren't they listening to us as patients and really going, oh yeah, this stuff works for them? Is it the money that is the issue? I mean, what is it? I want to get to the root of the problem.
Yeah, it's got to be greed. It's somewhere in the greed.
Yeah, a lot of people have that shared opinion, and I agree too. But you know what? I'm not going to give away all of this podcast, so I'm going to sign off here for now. And Curtis, he can wave goodbye. He's over there. Yay! All right, bye-bye, Facebook. And when he gets this fantastic podcast done, I shall share the living crap out of it. So...
Awesome.
So how long have you been on CBD?
4 months.
Really? 4 months?
Yep.
Okay, now see, I've been on CBD for 2.5 years. And that's why I'm so passionate about Queen City, because I have a sense of loyalty. That's how I was brought up.
Sure.
I was raised in church, so I have Christian values. It's just a simple fact that when you have something that's getting you off of pharmaceuticals and it's making you feel better, you want to fight for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I can see it in your eyes.
And that's why I'm here. I mean, I've got a son with autism, special needs. He needs a lot of my attention. And my daughter just loves me and wants my attention all the time.
Oh.
I don't have a lot of ability to do the kind of advocating and lobbying that I see people doing. But what I can do is use my skills.
Right.
And use what I have to
and
further the
everybody
message.
has their own unique talent. That's great. That's great. I want you to be able to be a healthy, strong father for your kids.
Me too.
That's important because there's a lot of people in the state of Ohio that have moved to a legal state to get help for themselves or their children, and you brought up autism, that needs to be added to.
Oh, yes, it does.
Yes, it does. Well, I'm going to try to see who I can connect you with, and maybe you can work on that, to try to get that added.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, Adam.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different avenues that you can explore in the cannabis community. We were talking slang earlier. People call it cannabis community or cannabis industry. To me, it's a patient community as well. No matter how you put it, it's still a community of people that are willing to get out there and stand up for themselves, and be brave for cannabis. I mean, don't you agree? There's a lot of people in the state of Ohio that they need somebody to fight for them if they don't have the skill set that you and I do, like, talking on a podcast or going to meetings or something. People like me can give them new avenues, articles, books, anything to get themselves educated. Now, how long have you have you researched anything about cannabis? What have you researched?
I watched a lot of videos about kids with seizures.
Okay.
The one recently with the old guy with Parkinson's, he just gets up off the couch.
It's fabulous, isn't
My
it?
my wife's father just passed. He was in advanced stages of Parkinson's, and I think that,
Oh,
I mean, I
Curtis.
would have loved to have been able to have like another conversation with him. It just, I don't know. There's when he couldn't talk anymore, it
Right.
it made me really sad. Like
Right.
almost like depressed. Like even trying to like imagine what that would be like and living through that. Like that's horrible.
Well, I'm so sorry to hear that, first of all, and definitely my prayers over that.
Oh,
And,
thank you.
when you get to know somebody on a personal level that's in the cannabis community, it resorts back to that sense of loyalty. You know, it's all about being loyal to that patient and just being a friend, you know. My best friend of 20 years passed away a few months ago from pancreatic cancer. And that changed me as a human being. She's the one that told me to use my mouth, use my personality to get some awareness out about things. And since she's passed, I feel her pushing me to do this stuff because pancreatic cancer, that's a hard, hard cancer to go through, and seizure disorders, autism, anything. There's people out there that are worse than you and I,
Hmm.
you know. And if cannabis and CBD is helping us and it's helping patients in my network that I know that have seizures, um, anything, why not be loud about it? Why not be their voice? You know?
You mentioned it's a patient community as well. So do you believe that cannabis should remain as medicine, or do you think that there's such a thing as cannabis for overall wellness?
For recreational use.
I don't really
Is
prefer
that
the
how you want to
term
put it?
recreational use. I
Okay.
feel like recreational use sounds kind of juvenile. Like, I just be
Good
honest with
point.
you. I believe that if cannabis becomes legal, I believe that it's a health and wellness product.
It is. And oh my gosh, you're the second person in the past 2 weeks that I've had this conversation with. Fascinating that you feel that way. Now, I was having a discussion with a friend this morning because it's, people are so used to that specific word, recreational, that it's really not. And you are dead on about that. It's a health and wellness thing. I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. But people are always going to use that term recreational or adult use because why? Why do you think? Because that's what the government and
Oh, yeah.
everybody has said all along. It's recreational use, it's adult use, blah, blah, blah. I love the fact that you are the second person that has called it a health and wellness thing. That is amazing because it is. It's a plant
Yeah.
and it heals you almost
Yeah.
with some of your symptoms. Now, wow, that's fascinating. Okay. Recreational, yeah, I sit around and I have fun with myself, to where I'm not in any pain or it's a low pain day, and I'm jamming the music around the house and stuff. Yeah, I like to just medicate for the pure fun of it.
Sure.
There's nothing wrong with that either. Absolutely nothing wrong with it because heck, it makes me clean my house. I mean, it gives you the munchies and stuff, and you're just downright having fun. And when you're medicating with friends and stuff, it's funner. Is that a word? I've had a couple of my friends use that word funner, so I figured I would spit that out during the podcast. But yeah, that's a very, very good way to put it. I like that. But recreational use, yeah, I want to see it in Ohio. I do. After being in Oregon, yeah, totally.
Mm.
I mean, imagine walking into a health and wellness center that was like yoga and cannabis. They have those on the West Coast. Or even a lounge where you can go and get a massage or something and, freely medicate right there in the spa or something. It's a relaxation form for anybody. I think a lot of people that are uptight could actually stand to use some cannabis to, just relax once in a while.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that was a great way to put that. I'm so glad that you feel that way too. Out on the West Coast, there's so many different things being done. I don't know if you keep up with a lot of the states and their programs, do you? Or just Ohio?
Right now, I'm really just focusing on Ohio. My
Okay.
family lives in California,
Okay.
and they're adult use. Then I think the rest of our family lives in Washington, Oregon.
Nice.
So it's not
Nice.
really an issue for us traveling around or anything like that. I mean, I've honestly never even been into a dispensary since California was
Really?
legalized. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Well, I used to live out there in California and Colorado before it went boom with all the legalization. The first dispensary that I went into was when I went to Oregon back in August.
Oh, yeah.
And I went to the Cannabis Science Conference, and that was just amazing. It's coming to the East Coast, by the way. You should go to that. And that was my first time, because I had been to Amsterdam a few years ago. And when you go to Amsterdam, it's like the mecca of cannabis. It really, really is. You can go in there, you can pick out what strain you want, and you can sit there and you could roll up and you can smoke your joint in the coffee shop. And it was fantastic, fantastic experience. I will never forget that trip. Now, Oregon, the dispensaries out there, they are really, really nice. They are. They're really, a lot of them that my friend Kenny, hi Kenny, that him and his wife Tina and Misha was with us. They took us to probably about 1, 2, 3, 4, oh gosh, at least 5 or 6 of them. And the only one that didn't treat me like I was a patient, because I am automatically going to a dispensary. Hey, how you doing? I'm Lorrie. I'm from Ohio. I have multiple sclerosis. What can you give me for this? And, there were some dispensaries that gave us free samples, which was amazing.
I can't even imagine.
Oh my gosh. They had these mints out there that were 1-to-1, which is CBD and THC. And those were fabulous, fabulous. But yeah, a lot of the dispensaries out there are really nice. There was one that was just like in a shopping center. Like nobody cares. Nobody cares. You see alcohol stores all over the place. So what's the big stigma around having a cannabis shop somewhere? I've never ever understood that. I think it's because cannabis has always been in my life, and I've never judged cannabis. I've never judged cannabis. I really haven't. Have you?
I don't know. My father was a deputy in Sacramento County, so it was big no on drugs kind of
the DARE
raising.
program
So like
and whatnot.
I probably did at some point in my youth, just think of all drugs as being the same,
which is
and all are bad,
right?
Really,
because a
elementary
lot of us,
thinking.
Yeah, they grow up in the reefer madness era,
right?
So a lot of us were taught, oh my gosh, marijuana's bad. It's so, so bad. So from an early age, a lot of us were taught, stay the hell away from it. It'll do nothing but ruin your life. Couldn't be the furthest thing from the truth. Heroin, that'll ruin your life. Meth, cocaine, that'll ruin your life. Pills, even alcohol. It's, wow, we're getting deep now, aren't we? Well, my friend Misha had told us, and I think Toker had told me that Alaska was legal for 14 years before they had access.
Wow.
Doesn't make any sense, does
it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole national thing and a global thing that people have always judged cannabis for the worst thing ever. But there's so many countries and so many states that are coming around to the fact that, hey, yeah, there's a lot of scientific proof that this stuff helps certain ailments.
Yeah.
I mean, like with CBD and how it stops seizures in little kids. Why would government officials want to make that or continue to allow that to be illegal?
Money.
Right? Okay, what's your next question?
Are you familiar with the idea of microdosing?
I love microdosing.
Yes?
Yes, I've been microdosing for a few years now, actually.
Tell us your experience with microdosing.
Okay. Well, I started making my own edibles a couple years ago. And, like the dosage stuff that we're talking about. When you make them at home, some of us don't know how to do the calculations and stuff. So we're just throwing stuff in there. I mean, stuff that people make could be like 100 milligrams or more. So my first experience of making edibles went just like that. It did. And so I taught myself. I didn't even know what microdosing was. Had no clue what it was. It was just something that I'm like, okay, I have common sense. So you don't want to eat the whole blondie brownie, or you don't want to eat the whole, because like I used to coat pretzels and crackers and stuff with cannabis oil. So you eat a couple pretzels, then you're good, for a couple hours. It was just something that came very natural to me that I'm like, okay, I don't want to take a chunk this big to go down to about that, and you could do it throughout the day. That gets you through the day better.
Right.
Because you've done edibles.
No.
Oh, you've never done edibles?
No, I've actually been very patient. Like I don't have any connection to any black market out here because I'm from California.
No, I didn't have access to, I didn't know anybody that made edibles or anything. I was doing research and I'm like, well, heck, I wonder how this would help my MS. So a friend of mine finally started making like little chocolates and stuff. I instantly fell in love. So I did all the research I needed to do in order to learn how to make the canna butter. And I started making blondie brownies and those pretzels and stuff. And you can infuse anything.
Yeah.
I infuse pasta. And then when you get into the edible world of it, you start to connect with others. I mean, I know chefs in different states that have a business of creating infused meals for patients. And they know their calculations. I don't want to have to make this stuff for myself anymore. I want to be able to go into a dispensary and go, oh, okay, well, I want this 25 milligram chocolate. And that's how it was in Oregon. I want stuff like that. Edibles last longer, like the full body buzz, as you would say, it lasts longer. And so to an MS patient, that's very, very beneficial. Because when you're in hardcore chronic pain or your muscles are tightening all day long or something, the edible it lasts a lot longer. So I highly recommend that you try some edibles once they get their products and stuff out, or learn to make them yourself. I don't have the muscle strength to make a lot of things. Sometimes my husband does all the cooking. I mean, I can cook, don't get me wrong. It's just I don't have a lot of the like that bottle I showed you. That was so painful for me to open. It's limitations on particular activities for an MSer. Like vacuuming is hard, but when you have an edible and you can microdose during the day to get you through the day. Oh yeah, it's very, very beneficial. Very beneficial. I highly recommend it.
Have you ever tried to track your dosing on vapes or other means?
Well, no. See, I've been going black market like everybody has, all the patients I know. And that's why it's so imperative that this program get up and going.
Yeah.
They want to go into a safe dispensary and be able to pick out their meds, safely and non-judgmental and, all that stuff. Where were we going with that? I forgot. I was like, where were we going with that? Well, like with this stuff, no. It's hard to
microdose it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's not hard to microdose, but it's hard to know the milligrams of that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So you could track your usage by 1 puff, 2 puff, 3 puff, 4, but
because when you're in a legal state, like check this picture out, okay? So see, it tells you how much THC is in it. It was a pre-roll, and
Okay.
it was a half a gram of full flower, an eighth a gram of rosin oil wrapped around it, and it was dipped in an eighth a gram of keef.
Wow.
Right. And it was powerful.
I bet.
It was powerful. And I slept on the plane. It helped me sleep on the plane because I get anxiety on the plane a little bit. That's what I'm looking forward to here in Ohio. Now, per HB 523, you're not allowed to, smoke flower. You can have it in vape form, edibles, tinctures, salve, stuff like that. And you can have plant material, like if I wanted to make my own edibles. And the way they're going to do it, because it's run by the pharmacy board, you're allowed a 3-month supply. Now, all of that, I need to get more information for you because I'm like space cadet right now on that.
Yeah, what is 3 months supply for a 200-pound guy who has chronic pain?
So are they going to calculate that by like, okay, can you only use like a gram or two a day? I mean, how are they going to do this?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, see, that's what I'm educating myself on. So all my education has been on multiple sclerosis. Now, getting into the House Bill 523 itself, I'm still educating myself on it. I finally printed the whole House Bill out.
Really?
Yeah, because my friend Robert from Veterans Ending the Stigma, okay, he's got the whole House Bill printed out. And I was like, well, wow, what a great idea. So I did the same thing. And I've been sitting there reading the entire House Bill. And it's the way they put some of these words that when you're in the cannabis community as an activist, you have to learn how they word things and what those specific words mean and stuff. And some of it can be very confusing. Now, what do you know about issue 2 and 3 back in the day a few years ago when they were trying to get that passed?
Is that the legalization that was going to be like a monopoly?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. They confused everybody. Now, if that stuff would have passed them a few years ago, we probably wouldn't be having the headaches that we're having now. But what it was is they were only wanting like 10 companies, I think, to be the only companies in the state of Ohio. But if they would have done it, we would have had product.
Yeah, anytime I've ever been living anywhere that had a pro-legalization, decriminalization, medical, whatever stance it was, I was always voting yes.
Me too.
Because I've always believed it's a beneficial plant. I did choose to stop using it for a time, but I definitely feel like I fall under the category now of being someone who needs it as medicine.
Right.
When I herniated the disc in my neck, there was like this, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. I'm going to be okay. And when it finally came to surgery, like, okay, it's going to be okay. Even though it got worse, it's going to be okay. But it never really ever got okay. It just, a little bit better, but still a lot of pain. And now I'm just here in this reality that this is my life.
Right.
I am now going to live with pain the rest of my life in my neck. And
good for you.
Yeah. Thank
you.
Good
for you.
Thank you.
I like hearing things like that because that makes you a fighter.
Yeah. And I want to be able to play softball with my daughter and wrestle with my kid and not be laid out or tell them no because I'm already laid out.
You want to be productive.
Yeah, I do. I want to live my best life.
Yeah. I unfortunately don't have any kids. So the patients that I do know that do have kids, it makes them better parents in a sense. I've heard people say that to me because it just makes their, whatever ailment that they're dealing with less difficult to go through, and it gives them more motivation to be present in their family.
Yeah.
So, and that's great. I want you to continue to fight. I mean, who wants to lay around and feel like crap all the time? I don't. You don't.
Just a couple more days, it's going to get better.
Right.
It won't.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry. Like,
well,
maybe it will one day. Okay. Some apostle comes up and lays their hands on you and you're healed.
Right.
All right. It could happen. I'm a believer, but yeah, no, this is my life.
But you're dealing with it on a day-to-day basis the best you can. So, and I'm proud to know you, now
Thanks.
that we've connected and stuff. I really appreciate this opportunity for us to sit here and talk about cannabis.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Well, yeah.
And I really hope we can have you back sometime.
I think you have a good thing going here, and it's a good outlet and a platform for patient stories to be heard. So, yeah,
Yeah.
keep doing it, man.
Great. Thanks for coming.
Well, thank you.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. We all deserve the opportunity to live our best life. My best life might not look like your best life, and your best life certainly won't look like mine. But we all deserve the right to choose how we approach our own health and wellness, especially when it comes to life-altering diseases and ailments. So if you're tired of the prescription drugs, if you've put your life into the doctor's hands, and if their best efforts have not given you the freedoms from your symptoms that allow you to live your best life, then you should consider cannabis as a real option. Join us next week as we look at another way in which cannabis can be used to promote your own health and wellness. Visit considercannabisnow.com and click on videos to see more of the benefits of cannabis. Are you already using cannabis as medicine and would like to share your story? You can contact me on the website or on Facebook. If you're interested in pursuing cannabis as a treatment option, consult your physician. You should always start with your primary care physician and let them know of your intent to treat yourself with natural medicines. If you have found anything of value in this episode, please share it with a friend. As always, you can find us on Apple and Google Podcasts, as well as Spotify and anywhere else you like to listen to your podcasts. I'd love for you to go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, go to our Facebook page and like it. But really, the only thing I want to ask you to do is to think of somebody that you know who would benefit from hearing Lorrie Callahan's testimony, and share this episode with them. Who knows? It may just change their life. Could you imagine if they were to start using cannabis and found the freedom from their symptoms to be able to live their best life? Until next time, be good to each other, don't judge one another, and live your best life. Join me next time and we'll consider cannabis together.